Souls holds a special place in the gaming community. Completing the game is a challenge that takes skill, strategy, and perseverance. But this video isn't about the people who complete the game, it's about the people who don't. Dark Souls is famously difficult, but that difficulty can push people away. I want to examine where Dark Souls loses the most players, and why. Let's start at the beginning. What is Dark Souls? Well, Dark Souls is a video game. The major tasks the player needs to complete to finish Dark Souls are logged as achievements, and as Steam generously provides global achievement completion data, we can see how many players reach each point in the game. While the game has elements of non-linearity, most new players will finish the objectives in more or less the same order. Plotting the completion data as a bar chart, we see a general downward trend. This makes sense as the data is largely cumulative. If one has the achievement for beating the game, they'll have the achievement for beating the first zone. Of course, that not everyone makes it to the end is known. We want to know again, where and why. Where is easy enough, we can take the differences between player counts resulting in this graph. But why? That'll take a more in-depth approach. To find out, let me take you on a complete journey through Lordran. Spoiler warning. Before we start, I want to reiterate that Dark Souls is not a linear game. Most objectives can be at least partially completed out of order. However, the orders that players fully complete objectives is largely the order we will cover them here. The requirements to complete each objective will be displayed as a flowchart, ending at the objective in question and starting at the immediately preceding objective or objectives. In between are objectives which do not have achievements but nevertheless are in the player's way. The first landmark on our journey is lighting a bonfire. This takes next to no time, and the 4% of players who do not get this achievement likely did not launch the game. We then lose about 2% of players directly afterwards, likely due to them thinking they had to kill this guy with the broken sword you start with instead of noticing the door they were meant to run through. After getting our real weapon and completing the tutorial zone, our final boss is the demon we ran past earlier. This fight has a casualty rate of 2%, and the remaining 91.6% of players get to enter the game proper. This is where we have our first large drop in players. 21.4% of players do not complete any additional objectives. For my money, this is because all the instructions players receive are from this guy, who tells you to ring 2 bells, and that one is in a church and one is underground. That is all the instruction you get. Some people love this, but clearly at least 20% of players did not. The aforementioned first bell can be reached by killing this guy and these guys. The next task is the second bell, which requires players to go really far down. Like, really far down. And also kill all of these guys. This is another big drop in players, about 13%. This one is likely due to difficulty. The zones on the way to it are hostile and maze-like. After these 2 initial player loss spikes, the loss in players only once exceeds even 5%. More on that later. Once we ring the 2 bells, we notice the local funhouse is open, so we pop in to visit. At the top, we fight this guy and are carried off to Anor Londo, the prettiest area in the game, Fight Me. 4.8% of players get sick of getting axed off platforms and quit. Once we're in Anor Londo, the next achievement is only 1 boss away. Ornstein and Smough are touted as the hardest mandatory boss, but only 3.3% of players quit here. My guess is players who make it this far are invested. ONS are a difficult midterm exam for players, but the game prepares them well to take it. Immediately afterwards is the third largest player loss. Upon talking to this weird snake thing, we get a cutscene depicting 3 walls of golden light dissolving around the world. The player loss here is likely from not knowing where these walls are. If a player did not encounter any of them, then it can be difficult to guess where those walls are just by area. The cutscene is non-repeatable too, so players who miss it or take a break from playing have no in-game way to find out where to go. The next 4 objectives can be done in any order. I'll be discussing them in order from highest to lowest completion rate, though they all hovered around 37%. The 4 kings can be accessed as soon as you enter Lordran, which is why it did not have a golden wall cutscene, but if you try to actually enter their boss arena, you need to gain a special ring from this grave first, and to do that, you have to kill this dog. Rest in peace, Sith. Seath has no intervening bosses in his way, we just have to traverse his library to reach him. Nito is in the skeleton zone, and to get to him, we have to slay this poor family in a trench coat. And the bed of chaos is farther down, 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 past all of these bosses. Of the 4 lords, this boss has the highest player loss count. I cannot imagine why. After that, players just have to defeat the final Lord Gwyn. And looking at our chart, we can see that the number of players who finish the game is... There's 2 endings. There's 2 different achievements for finishing the game. Unfortunately, I cannot tell you how many people stop playing the game between finishing the Lords and killing Gwyn. In fact, because the Lords are done out of order, I can't even tell you how many players finish all 4 Lords. Or can I? The Steam achievement data is not the only data I happen to have. I reached out to the wonderful people at DarkSoulsDeaths.com who have a crowdsourced set of data from Dark Souls player files. There is a couple things to note here. While I use the achievement data from Dark Souls Remastered for most of the video, the version you've been seeing, the Dark Souls Deaths data is from the original PC Prepare to Die edition. However, I feel the players may overlap more than one might expect. Entry into the site database is self-selected by players who found the website and filled out a form, so those players will be more likely to have played both the original and remaster, as they'd be more avid fans of the game. The data from this site confirms our suspicions. Players tend to stop after the Lord Vessel before collecting Lord Souls. With that, we can finally check how many people complete the game. Now, the percentage of players who make it to the end of the game is 63%. That doesn't match with the remastered Steam data. It doesn't even match with the achievements for the original game. Unfortunately, because players who like the game more are more likely to find the Dark Souls Debts website, the data is skewed towards player completion. We cannot know what percentage of players complete Dark Souls with this data. We can only tell that it is at most 36% of people. I guess this really was the Dark Souls of data analysis!